Am I capable of creating a happy cat painting without a lot of crazy colors? Let's find out. I painted this cloudy background about a year ago, not knowing what to put on it yet. But I'm going to do a snow leopard. So I am outlining it using a photo reference from my own photos at Sacramento Zoo. I'm using Indian yellow with a liner brush. And now the eyes with a few shades of green. The light is coming from above and her eyelids are shading the top part of her eyes, so the bottom parts are lighter. There's a cute pink nose with some shadows in purple. Outlining the eyes in a deep black with some grays. And around the nose with black. And a few bits and pieces of black here and there. Later I'll come in with all of the black spots, but first I need to lay down her beautiful white and gray coat. In this particular painting session, I'm just kind of laying in where the lights and darks are. This is my underpainting. There won't be much in the way of details here. I'm also using this opportunity to cover up those yellow outlines, but some of the yellow still peeks through in the final painting, which is fine because she has some yellow light cast here and there in the photo. The range of lights and darks in a painting is referred to as the values. So I'm using these light and dark values to model the form of the cat's head and neck. Now I'm going over with sort of a second layer while the first layer is still wet. I'm putting in lots of fluff here and there, and some indications of shorter bits of fur. For little strokes like these, I like to use my long, skinny liner brush. This is different from the fatter, pointier brush that I used for laying down the values. I love creating all this little bits of texture on the nose, all these short hairs that appear in the directions that they go, and it gives so much character to a cat's face. Now the brush that I'm using is called a grainer. It's like a flat brush, but it has several of the intermediate bristles are much shorter so that you get kind of a rake effect. And this is great for fluffy, flat patches of fur. I'm using it with a white that's really kind of thinned out with Magilp by Gamblin, and that allows me to press lighter for less coverage or harder for thick bits of white. I can also add more or less Magilp. This brush is great for covering areas pretty quickly, but also showing the direction of fur. You can also use a grainer brush like this, where I have it turned on its edge and I can get skinny lines. This technique is great for getting a really soft, plush feel to fur. Still using the grainer brush, I am adding white in order to pick out the highlights of this nice thick fur on her face. And it's time to show everyone how thick and luscious the fur around her neck is. I'm taking a second trip around her face to pull out highlights. Remember that I wasn't pressing down all the way with the white in most places, so another coat of white makes certain areas even whiter. Ready for spots? Here they come. Some of the spots are pretty small, so I don't use the grainer brush for that. I am back to my liner brush with a nice dark black, and her eyes needed a little bit more attention. Notice that as I'm adding black spots, the black is mixing with the white below if I press hard enough to have them blend, and that's how I get some dimension to those black spots. But also, the more black paint I have on my brush, the blacker the paint will go down. The spots here on her cheek blend into a lovely deep gray. I don't want all the spots to be a pure black. I want some variations of gray so that we can show how light is changing as it's wrapping around the form of her head. And I can control how much the black mixes with the white below with how much black I put on the brush and how much I kind of sit in one spot and mix it around with the color underneath. I'm letting the tip of my liner brush sort of splay out so it works more like a grainer brush. You can see how the brush hairs are spread out. Here, I'm using the black not to create spots, but to show dimension between the white strands of fur. I'm creating a blur effect on the spots on her neck using a clean, dry brush. This makes her head pop forward in space a little bit more, creating some more highlights in her eyes. And now for her white and black whiskers, which are relatively shorter than you would see in a house cat. To push her chin out toward us in space, I realized I needed some darker grays underneath. She's done. Time to sign her. Please let me know if you have any questions about oil painting or my painting process. I would love to answer them.